See, in this world, there's two kinds of people, my friend. Those with loaded guns, and those who dig.
I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
I feel the need for speed.
Real Chat Podcast presents the 100 Greatest Movies. Movie number 100, Stand By Me.
In all our lives, there's a fall from innocence, a time after which we are never the same. It happened in the summer of 1959, a long time ago.
Oh, man, wait to hear this. Wait to hear this. What is it, man? You guys want to go see a dead body?
When the night has come and the land is dark.
We interrupt to bring you an update on the search for the missing 12-year-old Ray Brower.
Kid's gone. They're never gonna find him. Not where they're looking.
And the moon is the only light we'll see.
You think Mighty Mouse could beat up Superman?
Mighty Mouse is a cartoon. Superman is a real guy. No way a cartoon could beat up a real guy.
Darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me.
We're gonna be famous. We're gonna be on every radio and TV show in the country.
I still don't think we should go.
If I can only have one food for the rest of my life, that's easy. Pass. Cherry flavor pass. No question about it. I could go someplace where nobody knows me.
We found him. We got dibs.
We better start running, Eyeball. They got dibs.
There's four of us, Eyeball. You just make your move.
You're dead.
For some, it's the last real taste of innocence.
I'm never gonna get out of this town, am I, Gory? You can do anything you want, man.
And the first real taste of life.
This is really a good time.
The most. A blast.
But for everyone, it's the time that memories are made of.
So darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Stand by me.
Everybody, welcome to episode 64 of the Real Chat Podcast, a podcast that's been rejigged and rebooted Hollywood style to guarantee cinephiles the real world as we know it. Now, author Stephen King is best known as a horror writer, but to pigeonhole him into a single category and dismiss his works based on a generalized genre is to lose sight of his true mastery of the written word and his ability to so effortlessly, but with such wonderful detail, create characters and worlds in which they live with unmatched vision and realism. Additionally, King's stories are generally very simple ones that succeed because of his outstanding character development, interaction, and places in his fictionalized worlds. His works are proof positive that it's people, their emotions and actions that make a great story, and without whom the best tale would mean nothing if there wasn't some greater meaning beyond the basics of the plot. My name is Adam Stolfo, welcoming you all back to Real Chat, and to my right here is my good mate, Mr. Andrew McCaskill. How are you, sir?
Very well, thank you. Very well. Yeah, a good one to start off with. This has been a classic, growing up movie for myself, so good to revisit it and, just to kind of touch base with it. Returning as well is Mr. Matthew O'Neill. Matt, welcome back.
Yeah, hey, how's it going?
Good, man. How you doing?
Yeah, good. I think we should be standing for this one.
Yeah. I did throw that up, but it wasn't very popular.
No,
but,
maybe we'll sit down. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we'll stay seated. No, looking forward to this one. This is it's a classic.
And returning as well, Real Chat's newest member, Miss Penny Jelly. How you doing, Penny?
Very well, thank you.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Okay, so this episode is part of our 100 Greatest Movies series, based on Empire Magazine's 2017 article of the same name. Now, the film, whose plot is based on Stephen King's novella The Body, and the title is derived from the Benny King song, which played over the ending credits. It sort of tells the story of four boys in a small town in Oregon who go on to find the dead body of a missing child. So, in March 1996, Columbia Pictures, concerned that the original title, The Body, was misleading, renamed the film Stand By Me. And according to screenwriter Reynald Gideon, it sounded like either a sex film, a bodybuilding film, or another Stephen King horror film. And so Rob came up with the idea Stand By Me which ended up being the least unpopular decision, apparently. So, so what are some of your initial thoughts on this one, guys?
It's just one of those classic childhood stories, basically, or films. It's just one of the few that really gets it right and nails that feeling of growing up and early adolescence, and the sense of nostalgia. I mean, I wasn't around during that period, but it's just a very warm film as a result, because you can tell the filmmaker is channeling his own childhood and Stephen King's, and it's just got this real sense of warmth and humanity to it. And
more recent TV shows such as Stranger Things and the like are very much inspired by films from this era, aren't they?
Yeah, for sure. That series is very Stephen King referential.
Probably the most anticipated second season in a long time. Stranger Things.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, great show. It really, I think that's one of the most recent shows or films that's tapped into the magic of a film like this one.
Yeah, I remember I saw it after you, Andrew, and you were shocked when you found out that I hadn't seen it yet. But since I've seen it, of course.
Stolfo-esque, I would say that was. Very Stolfo-esque.
What about you, Matt? Initial thoughts on Stand By Me?
Yeah, I think I'd be right in saying this is one of those films that I've never met anyone who dislikes it.
Yeah.
Like, everyone likes this film. And it's a lot like the song, the title song, Stand By Me. Everyone likes that song. Like, it's just a real nice song. And this is a real nice film. I don't think it's like the most amazing film ever. Same with the song, not the most amazing song ever, but it's just kind of there's a comfort to it. I think of Stephen King's work. I find that when it comes to horror, the books are great, but the films are lacking. Maybe apart from The Shining, and personal favourites like Creepshow or something like that.
What about Shawshank?
Yeah, Shawshank's great, but it's not horror, is it?
No.
And I wouldn't count this as horror. When it's not horror, the films seem they seem to be really good. Like the novellas just seem to suit the script and the film world a lot more. And
do you think because he's known primarily as a horror writer, isn't he?
Yeah, for sure. But
it's almost like his non-horror work is some of his most popular ones.
Supernatural, you almost call it.
Yeah, I mean, Carrie was a short book, a novella, I'd say, and that was quite a good film, but that had De Palma on board as well. I think sometimes his films, his horror in particular, the scope is just so large, like the book is just too big to fit in. I think the Kubrick did a great job with The Shining, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, these little novellas, I mean, has anyone visited the Gerald's Game yet on Netflix?
No.
That's quite good, actually. But
cool.
Still kind of wraps up too quickly at the end. And it's horror, but it's one of the better Stephen King horrors. But this is, Stand By Me is just classic.
And yourself, Penny, initial thoughts?
Yeah, it was nice to actually sit down and watch this again as, I guess, a more fully formed adult than I guess I am a fully formed adult. But it was actually, good to see those characters again. And I like Matt, I think that it's the characters that are driving the story, not like something that's driving the characters. Like this, it's all character study. It's all just sort of, the plot is there as a way to get from the film to get from A to B, but it's really those characters that you're going along the ride with.
It was released on the 22nd of August 1986 in the US and the 17th of September 1986 in Australia. So it was shot primarily in Oregon, California in the US, and apparently it sort of stood in for the fictional town of Castle Rock. All right, so it was sort of selected for its sort of small town 1950s ambience. The great thing about it as well is the town sort of fondly remembers the making of the movie. And so apparently 100 local residents were employed as extras. And since 2007, they've sort of held an annual Stand By Me Day. Have you guys heard about this at all? So every year, each July, in fact, it sort of draws like international acclaim. Like people come to the town to celebrate Stand By Me Day every year. So this film's definitely left its mark, that's for sure.
What kind of stuff do they do? Do they have
pie eating contests? Yeah.
Shove leeches down their pants?
Go for long walks along the train tracks, So it was the budget of the film, it was an estimated $8 million. But how's this, guys? 1986 grossed $52.3 million. So a huge hit.
Sounds like a lot of people did stand by that film.
Sure did. And the director of the film is Rob Reiner. Rob Reiner is an American actor, writer, director, producer, and activist. As an actor, Reiner first came to national prominence with the role of Michael Stivic on All in the Family. Did you guys used to watch this show?
No.
Before my time.
I don't know if we got it on these screens. It seemed like it was very
American,
local American kind of thing.
It's sort of a role that sort of earned him 2 Emmys during the 1970s. And as a director, Reiner was recognised by Directors Guild of America with nominations for the coming-of-age comedy drama film Stand By Me, the romantic comedy When Harry Met Sally, and the military courtroom drama A Few Good Men in 92. He also directed the psychological horror thriller Misery, which I rewatched recently, guys, as well, which was a great sort of film to revisit, the romantic comedy fantasy adventure The Princess Bride, and the heavy metal mockumentary This Is Spinal Tap. You're a fan of that, aren't you, Andrew?
Oh, yeah. No, he's done some good stuff, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, what are some of your thoughts on Reiner?
I think he's always been a pretty solid director and a director of character-rich films. So, yeah, like you're just listening to you list those film titles, there's a lot of just really enjoyable films there that you'd always see on TV and probably stop and watch. You know, they're just really easy to watch films. Especially, you know, early in his career, Spinal Tap was certainly a groundbreaking film for him. So, yeah, to hold that up and Stand By Me and When Harry Met Sally, they're and Misery as well, they're just really good, solid films. He's been probably waned off a little bit in the most recent years, but, yeah, he certainly had a golden period in the 80s there.
Reiner is quite active on the special features on the DVD and Blu-ray of Stand By Me, and he classifies some of his skills as a director coming from the fact that he used to be an actor.
Yeah.
And says that it gives you a real advantage if you decide to move across. Do you have any thoughts on that?
The characters are a lot stronger, and the performances he gets out of these kids is what makes this film. I mean, they're staggering performances in this film. So, yeah, testament to him, I'm sure, with his career. I mean, I think, obviously, his dad was Carl Reiner, a great director and comedian himself. So growing up with that exposure, I'm sure he's been quite strengthened by his skills by his father.
Thoughts on Reiner, Matt?
Yeah, all the films you rattled off, like, you know, Princess Bride, like I said before, Stand By Me, they're all films that people just like.
Yeah.
It never seems to make like an explosive film that'll win the Oscar for Best Picture, Best Director, and what have you, but just films that just kind of, no one can have a bad word against them, you know. Spinal Tap, again, a film where you'll never meet anyone who dislikes that film, unless they don't have a heart. Maybe.
Maybe that's right.
Yeah.
And he actually makes Tom Cruise likable in A Few Good Men. Like, that's an achievement.
Come on now. Just lay off Tom, all right? As an actor, he's fine.
I don't know if
just one.
Just fine.
I've never
He's
seen
doing
that film.
okay.
Really?
No.
Again, it's just a very watchable, you know, courtroom drama.
A Few Good Men's amazing.
Very, you know, not hammy performances, but grandstanding performances by Jack Nicholson and Tom Cruise. It's very...
Kevin Bacon?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if I'd be able to handle it.
You can't handle the
There you
truth.
go.
I took the bait.
Thank you.
Penny's onto it this morning, I tell you what. Yeah, definitely. Do you reckon, Matt, human stories? Do you reckon? You know what I mean? He's able to sort of like, you know, really get in there to something that most of us can sort of identify with or appreciate?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, humans. I mean, I guess Spinal Tap would be, and Princess Bride maybe not.
Well, okay.
Yeah, but no, I know. They're just really nice. There's nothing offensive.
Yeah.
In any of its. I mean,
Jeez, we'd love that review.
Yeah, nothing offensive. Like you could watch these films with your nana.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
True. Yeah.
Maybe not Misery.
No,
and Misery is a great example of a Stephen King film done well.
Done very well, definitely. Yeah. So, yeah. Any thoughts on Reiner, Penny?
When I think about all of his films that you've just listed there, like they've all got really great one-liners in them that you can just pick out every single.
Quotable.
Absolutely, entirely quotable. Like they were very much a part of me coming to love cinema as well. I think what he does really well is take really great subject matter or adaptation work and then bring it to life, or original screenplays and then bring those to life. And Harry Met Sally is an absolute gem of a film. I think that's probably one of my all-time favourites that I could go to again and again and again, with so many quotable lines and you know, really great music as well. So
you could argue the list of films you read out there is pretty much the Empire Top 100 as well. I'd imagine we'll be seeing quite a few of them along the way.
I can tell you that a few of them will be turning up in our list, definitely. So the writers of the film, Stephen King obviously wrote the novel, and the screenplay is credited to Reynold Gideon and Bruce A. Evans. So what can you tell us about these three distinguished gentlemen, Penny?
I think Stand By Me is one of their most recognised films amongst them all. A couple of other films that they've sort of like worked on either together, you know, they're not that amazing. I think Stand By Me is definitely the stand out.
Yeah, what are some of those movies?
What have we got here? We've got Made in Heaven, Starman, See, all of these films are sort of not like I don't think they're going to feature in the top 100. Cuffs. Yeah, Christian Slater, amazing as a film. It was definitely a film. But when I look at their writing credits, Stand By Me is definitely the standout, as I said. And it was just interesting, like how it actually came about with the short story of the film. Sorry, The Body was delivered to the wife of one of the writers, and then both writers got on board and said, "Hey, let's make this into a film," and then started sort of shopping it around and trying to get the rights to it. So it's, I love those kind of origin stories where it's just sort of it is something and then it becomes something else just by somebody really loving it and wanting to see that brought to life on the screen.
Are there many big differences between The Body and Stand By Me?
Yes.
Right.
So I actually did have a look at The Body. Has anybody else read?
No. I haven't read it. No.
So it's quite a good read. I actually haven't read any other Stephen King books. I find him too prolific, so it's hard to keep up. I know that he's an amazing writer, but in reading The Body, the character of Gordy is really different to how he's portrayed in the film. He's a bit more. I think he's quite simpering in the film. It's about him, and it's about he really relies on Chris, the gang leader, essentially, to be that main character in that film, and bring Will Wheaton along for the ride, as it were. But in the book, he really stands up for himself. His relationship with his brother isn't as kind of idolized. It's definitely the death of his brother definitely affects him, but it's Gordy is much more prolific in the actual book The Body.
Yep.
So much so that and like I don't want to spoil anything, but the character of Gordy pulls Teddy out of the way of the train, and it's actually Chris that brings out the gun at the end. So it's sort of like the tables are turned a little bit, which is an interesting character development from book to screen.
And Stephen King said that some of those choices that they made with the film, he would have liked to have had in the book.
Yeah, it's actually
particularly the one with the gun. Who was holding the gun.
It really makes sense. I think that the character arc of that character of Gordy is definitely brought further to life by him having the gun at the end of that film. So it's interesting the changes that they've made, the omissions that they've made, and what they've decided to really extrapolate.
Yeah, I think it's a great screenplay.
Yeah, well, just listening to Penny talk about it, it just. Maybe that's the difficulty with bringing Stephen King to film, is that there's so many. They're so dense, his source material, and there's so much darkness, and a lot of it's centered around kids. So it's kind of, from a boring marketing angle for filmmakers or producers, how do they package that for an audience? So often a lot of these films are softened as a result and aren't loyal to the source material as much as they probably should be. But in this case, I think they got it right. There's definitely it's this main young boy's story, and you're following his emotional journey to, the starting of becoming a young man. So for it to hop from character to character in the book, maybe it had its reasons in the source material, but in the film it works a treat.
Yeah, just a very subtle thing is that the book of The Body is set in 1960, and they've brought that back in the film to 1959, which to me is just sort of talking more about the precipice of changing into another decade, the precipice of becoming a boy to a man, all that kind of stuff, like really kind of subtle changes. But I think they really add in those extra layers into the film and really bring that to life. I don't think it would be otherwise if it wasn't in there, but it's just something nice to note. The cinematographer of the film, Andrew, is Thomas Del Ruth.
Yes.
Are you familiar with his work? And
the name, I saw it, rang a bell, and I think it's mainly Breakfast Club, because I've seen that so many times. So that was what popped out for me. But he's had a pretty varied career. He started early with Death Wish 2, which is different genre to what we're talking about. He actually did the first X-Files pilot episode. So I think he was seen as like a real craftsman, a go-to person to work with. And the cinematography doesn't draw attention to itself, and nor should it in most cases. It's a really nicely kind of naturalistic looking film. The grand epic scale of being out in nature, without, it's not overly done. Like
it doesn't draw too much attention to itself.
That's the refreshing thing. Like you forget, because you see so many films these days are so overly lit and graded, and they're just so overly focused on image-wise, and it's just too much. Whereas this film just looks natural. you're not taken away from the story. It just serves its purpose and aids the character performances. So, yeah, I think it's a lovely work.
Do you have any favourite shots in the film that sort of stand out for you?
The classic is probably the kids trying to run off beat the train. Some
interesting effects work there as well.
Well, just a really long lens, basically, kind of an optical.
It's not that close.
No, I was nowhere near them. But that's great filmmaking when you can. And I was totally in that moment when I watched it again. It just you totally went in the story and just very clever filmmaking.
Now, guys, the cast, okay, a massive part of this film, okay? So this is Will Wheaton from a 2011 interview who attributes the film's success to the director's casting choices, okay? Rob Reiner found 4 young boys who basically were the characters we played. I was awkward and nerdy and shy and uncomfortable in my own skin and really, really sensitive. And River was cool and really smart and passionate and even at that age, kind of like a father figure to some of us. Jerry was one of the funniest people I had seen in my life, either before or since. And Corey was unbelievably angry and in an incredible amount of pain and had an absolutely terrible relationship with his parents. So when you hear that quote, Will Wheaton essentially sums up why this film works so well, I think. Because these little boys were essentially a massive part of their characters already. And boy, does that come through in the movie and its performances.
Absolutely. It's incredible to watch these young kids like dealing with, such huge problems in their actual in their film, but actually in real life when you hear that, it's just like bringing that to the surface. So well done on Rob Reiner to bring that out.
Reiner and the producers interviewed more than 70 boys for the 4 main roles out of more than 300 who auditioned. All right. So let's start with Will Wheaton. Okay. So Will Wheaton, who plays Gordy LaChance, okay? So the interesting thing about Will Wheaton, I guess, is the fact that he would actually grow up to be an author of half a dozen books himself.
Well, he was the character that I related to when I was a kid.
Yeah.
He was the one that I thought, was most reflective of me at the time. So I love that performance and I always kind of cherish seeing that film again and his performance in it. Because I just he totally reflects that kind of uncertainty and lack of confidence at that age and... he carries the film really with his emotional arc. So I think it is the role that you remember him for, really.
Have you seen him in much of his other work that he did?
I know he was in Star Trek Next Generation.
He was. Yeah, he was.
Yeah, that's right. He was the son, wasn't he?
Yeah, I remember years ago as a kid going, oh, that's the kid from Stand By Me.
Yeah, and he looked exactly the same, just a little bit taller.
Big ganglia. But that's all I can recall seeing him in.
Yep. Thoughts on Will, Matt?
Oh, I think he is super. He's like, they've all got their own little problems in this film, and you feel for every single one of them. But they obviously can all see like a spark in him, and Definitely. Like how they love listening to his stories and things like that. Yeah, he was. I know we'll get on to all of them, but he grew up to be Richard Dreyfuss. That's amazing, isn't it?
Especially since Richard Dreyfuss looks nothing like him. So
and he had all that stuff with the shark and things. I think he's great.
Troubling.
That is really interesting that you say that, Andrew, because in some of the behind-the-scenes material where Will Wheaton comes back, and we'll talk about that when we talk about the Blu-ray and DVD in a little while, but he says that he does look like Richard Dreyfuss as he's getting older.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he thinks he look
at the back of his book.
The funny thing is that it's him saying that. It's the way he thinks, it's different with other people.
It did strike me when I watched it as like Richard Dreyfuss just doesn't look remotely like that kid. The kid's got dark features and Dreyfuss is kind of,
He's got blue eyes, doesn't he?
I think he does, yeah. Beautiful blue eyes.
Yeah.
Dreyfuss has a gentle face. I think it
You've got
works.
A gentle face.
Oh, thanks.
Thoughts on Will, Penny?
Yeah, amazing. Like, just I guess the main character of this film that's driving it, and he's just busted out of seemingly nowhere and really carrying this film well. Alongside his other counterparts, but he's really hurt, he's really damaged, and he's trying to make his way in the world. And wants to be a writer. I can definitely relate to that. I'm not that hurt or damaged, by the way. I'm doing okay.
He's amazing in that scene towards the end. It seems that both him and River Phoenix, who we'll talk about in a second, they both have really, really powerful emotional scenes at key moments.
Why did he have to die, Chris? Why did Denny have to die? Why? I don't know. It should have been me. Don't say that. It should have been me. Don't say that, man. I'm no good. My dad said it. I'm no good. He doesn't know you. He hates me. He doesn't hate you. He hates me. No, he just doesn't know you. He hates me. My dad hates me. He hates
that's such a real scene.
Yeah.
You feel that. You feel that.
Yeah.
And that's, attributed to his performance, definitely. So, River Phoenix plays Chris Chambers. He actually read for the part of Gordy. All right? So, that would have been a very, very different film, if you think about it.
Well, he's such a good actor, you could see him doing that as well.
He could probably have pulled it off.
But, I mean, he's just... I mean, there's so much been said about River Phoenix, but he just has that magic quality about him. And, I talk about relating to Will Wheaton's character. River Phoenix's character is the one you wish you were, as a kid. Just
for sure.
Just the wisdom and the strength that he has. I mean, he's damaged as well, but... I mean, he's just a really fascinating character, and River Phoenix's performance is incredible.
And definitely the scene that I just mentioned before as well, the one, where he, talks about the stealing incident. Yeah. You're watching that young kid in that scene, you're sort of going, how are you doing this?
Well, it's quite uncomfortable to watch that scene because it's just like seeing a kid kind of have a little mini breakdown, it's just so vulnerable that you just kind of like, shit, this is very unsettling to watch.
But it is.
So much more powerful because of his performance.
He was, what happened to him, obviously, it's a complete tragedy, but he was a very, very talented young guy, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
he was headed for really big things in Hollywood.
Yeah, and he, so early in his career, he'd already just been so bold with his choices as well. He was doing lots of different genres. He was really exploring acting as a craft, and I just read so much about what his fellow actors think of him and how good a person he was, how decent a person he was. And, he's just kind of like that tragic figure like a James Dean or a Heath Ledger. He's just one of those magic people.
Perfect. Yeah, perfect example there. Yeah. Matt, thoughts on River?
Yeah, he's like his character, isn't he? He's the one of the four of the lads as an actor. You feel he would have gone on to be he would have been one of the biggest actors in Hollywood right now. And same here, he goes on to be a lawyer, doesn't he? Like he's the one who really kind of has success in his personal life. And I guess, again, that's, like you read out the characters of each actor in this film, it basically sums up how they've gone, and he died as well. It's all there.
How powerful is his last scene with Will Wheaton, with just the two of them at the end, and then the fade out shot as well? Not just for the movie, for the time that was effective as it is, but now in hindsight, knowing what happens to River, watching that has so much more. It seems to have more power as time goes on.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. It's that, it really it's you watching a film, but you're also sort of, firmly watching your own reality of, River, he's gone.
Yeah, exactly. Now, Corey Feldman plays Teddy Duchamp.
Duchamp? Yeah, it's like Duchamp. He does say he's French, but I think it is Duchamp.
Corey Feldman recalled how his home life translated into his on-screen character, and he says, most kids aren't thinking they're going to get hit by their parents because they're not doing well enough in school, which will prevent them from getting a work permit, which will prevent them from being an actor. That's a quote from Corey Feldman. So, I mean, just the correlation between the real Corey Feldman that we all know and the character here is quite extraordinary, I think. He stated in several interviews that of all the characters he's played, the character of Teddy was actually the closest to his personality and his personal life. So, Andrew?
I think it's definitely one of his better roles. It's amazing to think that he was going through so much personal turmoil through the strongest point of his career, really. And he played so many fun-loving characters in so many classic childhood films. You'd never think that kid was going through so much hell at home.
So Goonies was just before this, yeah?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, this film is definitely one of the darker performances or darker roles that he's had. You just when you think Corey Feldman, you just think of fun, whimsical kid movies. But I was quite surprised to watch this again and see him being the troubled one, and he did a really good job with it.
We'll talk about it again with the DVD and Blu-ray features, but he's heavily involved in some of the special featers as well, and he's really critical of his performance in this movie.
Yeah,
I suppose a lot of actors are when they look back at their work, but I guess he's looking back at him as a child as well. So he points out things that a lot of us wouldn't have even thought about or had a mean to criticize. But that's quite a natural reaction, really, isn't it? So,
oh yeah, I mean, and he still does have those fun classic Feldman moments in the film. He's still got the light and shade, but yeah, there's certainly that real darkness in his performance in this one, which I really liked.
Matt, thoughts on Corey?
I think this is his best film by far.
Yeah? Better than Friday the 13th Part 4?
Slightly. I mean, I like him. I like him in, like, he's brilliant in Goonies as well.
Oh, yeah.
But There's a real sadness to him in this, but also I'd say he's probably the main reason what this film did so well early on, because I know as a 7-year-old when this came out, I wanted to see it because he was in it.
Because he was in it, yeah.
And because you're thinking this is going to be another Goonies, and it's far from it. And it's like, I remember Mum reluctantly getting this out from the video shop for us to watch it, and you're watching it and you're like, yeah, this really isn't like the Goonies at all.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, he's fantastic, and a very sad backstory for his life moving forward. Oh, the other film, The Burbs.
The Burbs.
I can't forget. How can I talk about Corey Feldman without mentioning The Burbs?
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
The pizza dude's here.
Yeah.
Was he in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
Donatello.
The voice.
The voice.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Was he Michelangelo?
No, Donatello.
Was he?
Yep, definitely. Yep.
Hey, I didn't know that.
Thoughts on Feldman, Penny?
Yeah, amazing. Like the range of that he can bring, that real sadness in his character that he's really masking with all that bravado. You know, like that's awful. Like his ear is it's like a bit of melted wax, and he's you know how damaged he is on the outside as well as how he's on the inside, and he's just bringing all that stuff to life, like bringing all that stuff to the surface. Obviously based on his real life as well. It's he's quite charismatic and charming in his brat with a heart of gold kind of way.
Jerry O'Connell plays Vern Tessio. O'Connell agreed that he was cast based on how his personality fit the role, saying, Rob really wanted us to understand our characters. He interviewed our characters. I tried to stay like Vern and say the stupid things Vern would say. I think I was Vern that summer, is how he sums it up. So, I mean, yeah, look, every time you look at Jerry O'Connell in this movie, and then you see what he ends up... I'm talking completely physically here, and what he looks like as well now, or down the track as well. It's quite an incredible transformation, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, Vern needs to look like this. He's perfect for this role, you know what I mean? But you would not think that by looking at Jerry O'Connell that you were looking at young little Vern from Stand By Me, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's quite extraordinary.
But his characters in the films he's been in and TV since is Vern, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean,
he's perfect.
You watch that film, and out of the four of the actors, he's the one you reckon will get his penis bitten off by a piranha at one point. You know what I mean? Like, you could pick that straight away.
To a piranha, he's come a long way.
Do you know what I mean? Like, you could.
That was in the body.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. It wasn't.
While practicing his lines, Jerry O'Connell was incredibly impressed that as an 11-year-old, he was being allowed to swear and curse so much. So, that would impress an 11-year-old, wouldn't it, Andrew?
Oh, it'd be a laugh riot.
Oh, yeah.
Getting paid to do that.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It's actually one of the things that makes this film... it makes it a non-PG movie when you think about it, because there's no extreme violence or anything like that. It's mainly just the language, isn't it? Because there's a lot of it in this film. So
yeah, it's quite shocking actually when you think about it. Like, just that the kids are allowed to drop the F-bombs and... Well,
I think the fact that you're identifying it when it's going on and you're thinking about it, because that's what happened when I watched this recently as well. Like, I was aware that, like, she's they're really they're really giving it all here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's done for that effect, but you actually are aware of it when you're watching it.
And that's kids love swearing. I mean, you rip into that as much as you can when you're a kid, because it's just the coolest word you've just learned. And most films these days that deal with kids censor that stuff, so it's kind of refreshing.
But that's the thing, isn't it? The swearing kind of added a layer of darkness to it as well, I think.
Yeah.
Because you go from watching the Goonies to putting this on, and you're like, oh, this is kind of serious stuff. The F-bomb. They did do the F-bomb, don't they?
I think so.
Yeah.
Sure do.
All through it.
They needed to chuck a C-bomb in there. That's what they needed.
Yeah.
That would have been shocking.
There's your
with
Oscar.
a C.
There's your Oscar right there.
Kiefer Sutherland plays Ace Merrill. I don't think they could have picked anyone more perfect for this role, to be honest.
He's so
he's
good.
Such an asshole.
Yeah,
he plays it so well.
He really was great, wasn't he? Like, the 80s, he had so many cool roles, and he just...
he followed this up with Lost Boys.
Yeah, like just the 1-2 punch of those two roles. He's just such a badass prick, and but just so charming at the same time. Like, he just... you could see, like, you'd follow him if he was the big bully. You could see you'd have a gang, because he's just got that... He's just so strong. Yeah, that early scene where he knocks over River Phoenix and, with a cigarette. Yeah. Apparently Rob Reiner was telling him to be even more, harsh, bring that even closer to his face. But he's apparently a really nice guy. And he found it really difficult
to put that cigarette really close to River's face, apparently. So,
well, it's interesting. Like he and his dad, like Donald Sutherland, they seem to get cast in a lot of villain roles.
Yeah, so perfect. Really,
it seems to get passed down from generation to generation.
Oh, he looks like he would have walked straight off of this set, put on a leather trench coat and a pair of fangs, and straight into Lost Boys, hasn't he?
It's
pretty much the
same. 1-2 punch. Yeah,
sure. He's just such a bully. Bullies in the 80s were great, weren't they? They're like the proper bullies, like the Karate Kid, Johnny.
Oh, how good was he?
You could just do like the Bully Boys, like as a movie, and you could have like Johnny, Kiefer Sutherland.
Yeah, you know how they do
some other guy.
You know how in the last 7 odd years Biff. Oh. You know, in the last 7 odd years, how they had the action film resurgence, like with the Expendables movies and getting them all together. Why don't we create the bully version of that? Get all the best bullies of the 80s films, put them together.
The big bad bully boys.
Yeah.
Sounds more like a...
HR would have something to say about that, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that's... We want to do the big bad bully boys, but I mean, they just don't do it now, you know?
Yeah.
Like, Kiefer Sutherland would be rubbish on social media, bullying kids. Like, it just wouldn't work as well. But face to face with a little switchblade,
perfect. Thoughts on Kiefer?
Yeah,
Penny?
amazing. The way he's playing chicken with that car, and like he's putting himself and the other driver and his friends in jeopardy. Yeah, amazing.
You knew he wasn't going to swerve based on his expression.
Oh, look at those eyes and that toothpick. Amazing.
How much, though, did you guys want to drive around with a baseball bat hitting people's letterboxes down? I reckon that. I mean, it would be cricket bat over here, but still just as much fun.
Where that came from, that idea to put that in the film as well.
It happens for sure. I have no doubt. But
it wasn't in the book, and in fact, he didn't appear all that much in the book at all. So they've really extrapolated on that character, and I think for the better as well.
And a couple of members of the supporting cast, just quickly. Richard Dreyfuss, of course. Reiner considered David Jukes, Ted Bessel, and Michael McKean, apparently.
Yeah.
We're on the
that would have been even worse because he's a ranger. Doesn't look anything like Will Wheaton.
But Rob Reiner is a massive fan of Dreyfuss's work in this movie and says that it's an integral part of the success. So do you agree with that?
I mean, it doesn't got a lot to do with it. I mean, it's mainly his voiceover, which is serviceable. But in terms of performance, it's pretty light on, I would think. And from my personal opinion, I think Richard Dreyfuss should always have a beard. That should be in his contract.
Agreed. Absolutely agreed.
He looks strange without one.
It's every film he's in that doesn't have a beard, I don't usually like.
Yeah.
Mr. Holland's Opus?
Haven't seen it.
Doesn't have a beard.
Probably won't see it then.
There you go.
What about Bob?
That is a great film.
Yeah, he doesn't have a...
He's got a beard in that.
Does he?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why it's a great film.
Exactly.
That's my point.
Yeah. Glad we're on the same page.
And Andrew, your man, Mr. John Cusack, who plays Denny LaChance.
Yeah, I forgot he was in this.
Oh, yeah.
He's just a great little stunt cast there.
It is just a real cameo, isn't it?
Yeah.
How young does he look?
Yeah. And but it's just he's the younger brother you'd want, Cusack. I mean, he's the cool older brother.
Yeah.
It's just, that's perfect casting.
And looks like a bit like Will Wheaton.
Well, yeah, sure. They got that part right.
And Dreyfuss. No,
if you're on drugs.
Matt, I was trying to work out, how to get, some reference. I know you found one just before, but, a Back to the Future reference into this film.
Oh, yeah.
Well, there's more than one. Did you guys know Casey Simasco, who plays Billy Tessio in this film, he was in Back to the Future. He played 3D, the guy who wore the 3D Biff's member, right? Yeah, he plays Billy. He seems to play these gang member roles really well.
Just the guy in the back who goes, yeah, man, yeah.
Doesn't have a huge amount to say, but he's certainly effective when he gets in these roles. You know what I mean?
So not the main bully, but bully number 2, or something like that.
Yeah.
Bully 3, yeah.
There's another Back to the Future reference for us as well. Frances Lee McCain, who plays Mrs. LaChance, is Lorraine Baines' mum in Back to the Future.
Golly.
When...
Yeah, we could do an Ingmar Bergman film and you'd find a Back to the Future reference in there.
It's a challenge. Every single movie we look at is to find a reference somehow, Andrew. So
I hope Cannibal Holocaust is in the top 100. I think we'll struggle.
Struggle with that one. Do you guys have a favourite scene in this film? There's so many great ones.
Oh, I guess I'll go because I interjected with a groan. I'm going to say the storytelling. I loved that as a kid. I just thought it was so hilarious. I used to love when that scene was coming up. When they're all sat around the campfire and they get him to
So does the pie scene included with that, or
yeah. So it's just such an escape from their little adventure that they're having, which isn't really an adventure at all. It's quite a dark little trek they're on. But it was even just for a kid watching the film, it's just a nice little break, and it's humorous and very cute. Yeah.
Cool. Andrew?
I think the leeches. I think that's the scene that stayed with me as a kid the most. It was just it's still watching it. It's something kind of really shocking about, because they're bloody real leeches, and you just see the little teeth imprints on their skin. After they remove it, and it's just you just know that was for real. And I was just leeches are just such a creepy thing, and it's just being a kid and all the woes you have growing up anyway, and then having this kind of weird kind of frolic in the pond with your underpants with leeches. It's all very symbolic in some way.
I think the leech down the underpants as well is one of the most cringe-inducing scenes in cinema history.
You never want that. You just never want that.
No. But I think everybody
feels
feels
Y fronts. Never a good idea.
Has anyone ever, I don't know how to phrase this, anyone ever been sucked off by a leech? Has anyone ever had a leech on them?
I have.
Yeah?
Not down my pants.
No, it didn't have to be.
Sorry.
That wasn't the question. It could be on your finger anywhere.
It was on my thigh. Yeah. And you don't feel it, and all of a sudden you look down and there's this thing hanging off you that you you don't know. Yeah, you don't know how to.
So the size was that big as well.
Well, they get bigger, don't they?
As they get fatter, and they burst apparently as well.
Great.
If they suck too much.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I was in a rainforest, and my mate was behind me and said, "Oh, you've got a leech on you." And, you're not supposed to rip them off.
No, you burn them or something.
We had like a pack of potato chips in the back car. So fortunately, you just put that on and it dropped straight off.
Salt on the leech.
Thank God for bloody Sandboys, I tell you.
The flavour really hits you.
Does it have to be a particular flavour, or we can...
The saltier the better.
Okay, cool.
Salt and vinegar, I think, would be good, just to...
Well, the leech liked it. Yeah. It was quite tasty.
Penny, do you have a favourite scene? Stand By Me?
Well, I think, the pie eating contest is absolutely the one that sort of springs to mind whenever I think about that. And just in that, I love the benevolent order of the antelopes, those guys with the...
How are those guys?
That was like such a magical moment where the women behind them throw up on them, and they throw... that's quite incredible. But in the interest of saying something different, I think that there's two moments. One is when is Vern, when he's on watch and he's behind the tree with the gun, and then it's there's a sound and the gun just pops out. I mean, that's amazing filmmaking. But it does, I think, the poignancy of the deer where Gordy
just beat me to it.
Oh, right. Is that your favourite moment as well?
It is actually.
I think that's quite brilliant. That's in the novella as well, where he says, I was something for myself. And in an ensemble film, just being able to have that moment alone, I think is quite magical.
And on the commentary that's on the disc as well, Rob Reiner explains how they got the deer to give that amazing expression. When Will Wheaton looks at him, and then the deer looks back and gives that amazing expression. How did you get that performance out of the deer?
Yeah, Rob Reiner, what a guy.
They used those, man of many talents. They used a blowhorn of sorts, apparently, slightly around the corner or something like that. And the deer reacted to it, and that's the expression that it gave. So,
wow.
Yeah, it was great. So what do you guys think is the significance of that scene? What did you, read from it?
Oh, man, there's so much you could read from it. I like the ambiguity of that scene as the individual of his character just witnessing this magical moment with nature. And it's too hard to answer.
Well, there's two sort of examples that have sort of been suggested. One, after all the bad things in their lives of all the four boys, the death of Gordy's brother and the treatment from his parents, Ace and his friends, Teddy's abusive father, Ray Brower's death, etc. The deer sort of represents that some things in the world are still beautiful, and this sort of gives him hope. He sort of wanted to keep it to himself so that nobody could sort of debunk his theory. And two, Gordy has spent the entire trip in the constant company of his friends, not doing or saying anything that isn't seen or heard by the others. So the deer is sort of the one thing that's sort of personal to him from the entire time they're sort of searching for the body. You know what I mean? So that's sort of what I sort of took from it, I think.
So a sense of purity.
What do you guys think that the significance is of what Ace sort of does with the hat that he sort of takes from Gordy? Have you thought about that?
That's absolute bullying behaviour right there. It's his brother's hat. He takes it from him. It's such a... that really got to me. That is, the one thing that he could cling on to from his brother that his brother gave to him, and then Ace has just taken it away. He doesn't know the importance of it. It's just that's...
It's the one moment of the film where you realise it's not the Goonies that you're watching. Because it's like, hang on a second, that guy's brother, he died, and that's his hat, and you're taking it for... Like, it's too dark to comprehend as a kid, you know what I mean? You're just like, no, this is...
Yeah, apparently there's a reason why you never see the hat again. According to the behind-the-scenes documentaries, Wheaton asked the director, Rob Reiner, why he doesn't get his hat back. And Reiner replied that Ace simply threw it away around the corner off screen.
What a jerk.
Sutherland's initial instinct was to put it on, apparently, but Reiner told him his character would never mess up his hair. So so instead, apparently, just off screen somewhere, he just throws it away. Like, that's quite significant, knowing that.
It would have been even more significant if it landed on the deer's head. And then later in the film, the deer's like, that would have been...
A dear little moment.
Yeah, lovely.
Thanks.
Just one thing which is classic for 80s films, and they do it really well here, is the montage.
Oh, yeah.
The
How
montage,
good is it?
It's great, yeah. Just of them, like, being pals,
yeah,
you know?
Yeah. Really
sitting around
effective.
the fire. Yeah, really well done. Because montage, I mean, you always have a montage in an 80s film, and this one's...
It's almost a
really
prerequisite,
nice.
isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And this one's really good.
So, just a little bit of trivia here, guys, from Stand By Me. So, rather than starting to shoot right away, Reiner put the 4 main actors together for 2 weeks to play games from Viola Spolin's improvisation for the theatre, which Reiner called the Bible of theatre games, to sort of build camaraderie, which led to the real friendship between them and several one-shot takes, apparently, where the young actors hit their cues perfectly. Wheaton would recall, when you saw the 4 of us being comrades, that was real life, that wasn't acting. You know, and that definitely comes through in the film, doesn't it? So, apparently, Andrew, the famous pond from the leech scene, it was actually a man-made pool. The crew wanted them to be safe and secure and didn't want to put them in sort of a real pond because they didn't know what would be in it, apparently. But Corey Feldman stated in an interview that the joke of the whole thing was that they sort of built and filled it with water in the beginning of June, and by the time they sort of got to film that scene, it was the end of August. So it had been out in the woods for 3 months. So I didn't know what was in it anyway. I think that's hilarious. It's like, it's such a good point. It's like, they don't want to control, like, you know, any nature or anything, or like anything that, you know, starts to live in this pond or anything or whatever. But so
maybe that's why they got Dreyfus in, because there was going to be a shark that was going to be in the pond.
We're going to need a bigger pond.
Real coming. Very nice.
The dog Chopper is compared to Cujo from 1983. Do you know that film, Matt?
Yeah. It's a good book as well.
So Stephen King must do this quite regularly. He sort of puts like characters or little nods to his other work, like and
has them in similar towns and stuff like that. Like, is it Maine or something?
Everything I think sort of comes back to Castle Rock.
Yeah. So, and even the Dark Tower, isn't that something? Yeah.
Characters are familiar with Shawshank Prison from the Shawshank Redemption. And so Deddy Duchamp was actually first mentioned in King's first book, Carrie, 1976, in which Carrie destroys a gas station that he once worked at. So, yeah, there's lots of little nods there. In the campfire scene in which Chris breaks down, Rob Reiner was sure River Phoenix could do better. He asked him to think of a time in his own life when an adult had let him down and use it in the scene for his performance, which Phoenix did, of course. So, upset and crying, he had to be comforted by the director after the scene. The result of Phoenix's exercise is the scene that ended up in the final cut. So, when you know that going into that as well, whatever he thought of, it worked a treat.
Yeah, I think that's the Stanislavski effect.
Some interesting little note here, guys. Very important, this, Matt. Very important. River Phoenix apparently lost his virginity during the filming of this film.
Leeches.
That is interesting, because there's not a single female in this film. I mean, what's that?
Dreyfus?
He apparently came into work one day with this big, massive smile on his face after spending the night with a family friend. Family friend. He wrote to Reiner on a piece of paper, "It finally happened."
Jesus.
He would have been quite young.
I'm just glad Harvey Weinstein didn't have anything to do with it. I think that's
too soon. Actually, it's not too soon. It's been going on for a while.
Too much, if anything.
But he would have been quite young, like when he was making this film. So that all happened, like, you know.
Yeah, but he's cool, man.
Yeah,
he reminds me
movie
of me.
Star. How's this, Andrew? The vomit used in the Lardass story was made from cottage cheese and blueberry mix. Apparently.
Lovely. In the summer heat, that would have been really nice.
Lovely for everybody involved. That's right. Yeah. So, when the boys add up all their money, they come up with $2.37. The number 237 appears in quite a few of Stephen King's stories. Apparently, do you know this, Penny?
No, I hadn't read that.
The Shining.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's the hotel room.
237.
Oh,
it is too. Yeah, there you go. Rob Reiner apparently developed a good working relationship with Stephen King after this movie, so much so that King only agreed to sell the rights to the film Misery if Reiner directed the film.
Good choice as well.
Yeah, definitely. The end of the film says that Chris died while the other three boys went on with their lives. In the original novella, all of the boys except Gordy were dead by the end of the story. And Chris was actually the third one to die, not the first. So it also sort of reveals what happens to Teddy and Vern. And so apparently Teddy's killed in a car crash and Vern dies in a house fire. Apparently.
It's a downer.
In regards to the DVD, Blu-ray, or we're in 2017, Matt, so Ultra HD releases. I'm going to have to bring that in now into our notes. There was the 2000 Collector's Edition DVD and the 2015 Blu-ray. The transfer is quite solid, all things considered. While the source is in relatively good shape, the picture really does kind of lack vibrancy and a sort of a crispness that that newer releases would have. But that's sort of to be expected, based on what the film would have been shot on.
I quite like that. I think it gives it a dreamy kind of quality.
Yeah, I think it worked. Fans should be quite pleased with Sony's efforts, I think, to be honest. But a couple of features on the Blu-ray disc as well. This is one that I watched in preparation for today. This is really, really good. Have you guys ever seen a commentary track, which is actually a picture-in-picture? The Blu-ray format can sort of put a picture into the image. And what they do is they got Rob Reiner, Will Wheaton, and Corey Feldman, and they brought them together, and you can actually watch them while they're doing the commentary in the corner of the screen. This is really, really interesting feature. And, normally you just sort of watch that and go, what difference does it make if you can hear them? Why do you need to see them, right? You should see these three. They're talking away throughout the movie, and they're really, really interesting. There's sort of a reunion for them all. And it's really interesting to see, Will Wheaton and Corey Feldman today, and they haven't seen each other since, so they get on really well, and Rob Reiner's there. During the scene with River Phoenix when he breaks down, those guys all go completely silent. They get caught up in the performance, and you can see on their face in the corner of the screen how much they are affected by this even today. They don't know what to say to each other. It's almost like in respect, they all just go quiet for maybe a couple of minutes. And then when they come back, they try and lighten it up and that. But it's really, really moving.
Yeah.
You just see Rob Reiner's face. He's still affected by what's happened to this day.
Yeah, of course.
So, but it's definitely a really, really good commentary track. And any fan of the film should check it out. There's also an older commentary ported across from the DVD release, Andrew, as well, which is Rob Reiner by himself. Apparently he goes over a lot of the same things as on the Blu-ray commentary. It's meant to be worth a listen, even though some stuff might be repeated. And there's a 36-minute documentary as well called Walking the Tracks on there, the summer of Stand By Me. It's really good, making a piece features Stephen King quite a lot as well, and sort of speaks about what led him to write the original story, while also speaking on the film's themes and its transition to the film, etc. And they have, Matt, as well, the Stand By Me music video, the Benny King song as well, that's on there. That's really uncomfortable to watch, actually, because they've got Will Wheaton and River Phoenix from maybe a couple of years, or maybe it was just after the making of the film. And they get them there to dance along to the song.
Oh, God.
It's a bit awkward to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
Doesn't really suit the marketing of the film,
No,
does it really?
I think they just got them in to have the tie-in, obviously. But it's a little bit awkward to watch it, I must say.
Brings in the horror element, though.
Yeah. And also, guys, if people have Netflix Australia as well, and I specify that as well, Netflix Australia has Stand By Me. All right? Because I did check US, and apparently it doesn't have it at the moment. Because, movies jump on and off there all the time, don't they? So, yeah, if you guys want to... If people in Australia have Netflix, you can watch Stand By Me as well. So, Andrew, let's talk a little bit about the soundtrack and the score to Stand By Me. Rob Reiner clarified this for us as well, Andrew, that the name of the composer is Jack Nitze, because we were debating that before about, how the hell do you pronounce that surname? Yeah.
I was going to call him Jack Nitsch, so I'm glad that you clarified that. Nitze, yeah. Nitze. Yeah. Sounds kind of mafioso, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
Yeah, look, I mean, the hero of this film is the songs of the period. Like, they're...
Oh, without a doubt.
Clearly, they're songs that Reiner himself grew up with, and, they're very personal to him as well. And as you mentioned, that song that is tied to the body, the idea for the book originally. So, the songs work fantastically. I mean, the Lollipop song is one that I always remember. It was just a classic little comical moment between the two guys.
It's only like about 10-second block as well.
I always thought it was quite long.
That's pretty quick.
It's just, it's quite a potent moment.
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of Jack Nitze's score, I mean, it's very simple. It's basically the bass line of the song "Stand By Me."
Yep.
Which is effective enough. It's just a nice and reflective kind of piece. But, you know, he's a very interesting character in himself, you know, just working with the arrangements for Phil Spector on some of his classic albums in the 60s. He's had a huge career, worked with Neil Young as well. So, and, you know, lots of great tracks that he's composed, and he did the amazing score for One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
He did, yeah.
So he's had a huge career and quite a character as well. He's quite challenging to work with, let's just say, in some periods, but maybe by this time he was a bit mellowed out and he just liked to, you know, flick the bass line. But, yeah, just a subtle score for this one and no release for it. It's more
there wasn't, was there? Do you think that's surprising?
I mean, unless you're a real completist, I mean, it's like one piece, really, that's just repeated throughout the film. So I would just listen to the song, to be honest.
Yeah, okay. But there is a way to listen to the score, though, isn't there? Even though there wasn't a release of it.
I was made known about this by yourself. On the original DVD,
yes,
is the isolated score.
So now this is a unique feature. We haven't looked at any movie that has this feature yet on Real Chat. So it's like they get the soundtrack, the full mix of the film, but they extract the songs and the score, and then they play the movie with none of the other sound elements. Is that right?
Yeah. So it's really just for the nerds like you and I who can enjoy the music without the distraction of dialogue and sound. You know,
But it's
a cool
different
feature.
way, though, because you sing exactly where the cues are meant to position in relation to the image.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For composers who are starting out, it's a great feature to kind of see exactly that. It's just the craft of where it's placed. I mean, certainly before, great things like Spotify and, you know, iTunes, where you couldn't find these pieces of music easily, it was a great way to kind of enjoy them.
Someone's probably created a bootleg version of the score by using that isolated score track, I'm sure.
Well, we don't refer to bootlegs on this show, do we, Adam? I think that's not for us to.
Not for us, no, that's right. There was a soundtrack release, though, wasn't there?
Quite a popular one. Like in the 80s, it was one of those popular go-to nostalgic soundtracks, like, you know, Big Chill and Tour of Duty. You know, there's a real rush of kind of great soundtrack, great compilation soundtracks.
Mainly 50s and 60s songs, yeah?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So, and of course, the song was actually really popular as well. And I think it got a bit of a resurgence with this movie, apparently. Apparently it got back in the charts, I think. I think it reached the top 10.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But I mean, definitely remember it was a huge hit when that film came out.
Did you know that, did you hear about the Michael Jackson connection? Did you hear anything about that?
No.
Apparently, he was massive in 1986, Michael Jackson. Apparently, he was in talks to do a cover of Stand By Me for this movie, but Rob Reiner was the one that said, yes, it might be Michael Jackson. Yes, he's interested, but I think that we need to use the original here. That was a really good decision.
Oh, definitely, yeah. It would have been just too distracting, I think.
Yeah.
Having
you can visualise it, can't you?
Stand by me, yeah. You know, it's kind of... Ow! Just wouldn't have really suited the vibes.
Come on, Andrew.
He loves films with kids in it, though, doesn't he? So you can understand why he was
Rob was wanting to just...
He really wanted to be attached.
Come here, kids, stand by me.
He wanted to be attached like a leech. I can play the leech. Don't worry about it.
In regards to alternate versions or deleted scenes for Stand By Me, apparently in the edited for TV version, Lard Hogan's name was shortened to Lard, apparently, for obvious reasons, but still... No, not good reasons, though. The editing is very obvious in these scenes when the crowd starts chanting his name, and the film looks and sounds very choppy as a result. You can just imagine that, can't you? Like, do you guys ever watch movies on TV, like Australian commercial TV these days? You do sometimes?
Oh, no,
right?
At all.
Some of the edits that they make is unforgivable. Like, I know that you know, they've got their reasons in that. I just don't think they should be showing it at all.
Not now that you've got Netflix and stuff like that. There's no point.
Yeah, it's infuriating sometimes. But can you imagine watching Stand By Me in that scene? It's just really choppy soundtrack because they're trying to get rid of the word arse. Why bother showing Stand By Me on TV if you're going to make edits like that? Because like it's just full of like cursing. You know what I mean? Like you just
especially nowadays. Like I mean, when we were kids, it was so present. You know, they're cutting the hell out of these films. Like, you know, a lot of
Beverly Hills Cop,
Total Recall. All these films are just cut to pieces. And but now there should be no excuse for that. I mean, if you want to actually keep viewers, you know, just show the full film as it was intended.
Exactly. Now, just a couple of new segments here, just quickly, guys. We're trying a couple of things out. So, Matt, Stand By Me From a marketing perspective, what sort of insights have you got to share with us?
Well, it's interesting. You mentioned the music video, which very much sums up how America marketed this film.
It really does.
Like it's interestingly enough, the poster for Australia, like the daybill and stuff, is quite art house. Like you'd look at that and think this is an art house film.
Right.
It's focusing on the non-existent cinematography. Really, you know what I mean? Like it's a beautiful landscape image with moody blues and purple colours.
Yep.
I think that suits this film a lot more, gives you a better reading of the film, whereas the American one is just like, it looks like a Caddyshack poster or something like that, you know, like all these, like...
all the actors featured on the poster.
Superimposed heads of smiling faces, you know, having a great time looking for a dead body. And there's no, tagline as such for the film on this poster, on the one sheet. It's just it's a great
quote
in the film. It's the quote. It's
If I can only have one food for the rest of my life, that's easy. Pass. Cherry flavor Pez. No question about it.
I'm surprised they didn't actually make some Pez dispensers with a head of each of the kids for this film.
It's a real missed opportunity.
Including the dead body as well. It's his eyeball hanging out.
I'd have a Kiefer Sutherland Pez
cool
dispenser. That would be amazing.
That would be awesome.
The first time I heard about this film was on British TV on a morning show, and they definitely pushed it as like a Goonies style film, which made you want to see it. You know what I mean? Like
the marketing technique.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which it wasn't.
No, it's not.
And when you're watching it with your mum and it's got the swearing on it, when you're 7,
your mum's reaching across every 5 minutes
to fast forward or boss say, no, you're not watching this now and stuff.
Yeah.
So way off. And unfortunately, and I don't know if you're going to ask, but computer game wise, there was nothing.
Now, I've got something to say about this. This is a real missed opportunity. I can visualize this game in my head.
Is that right?
Absolutely, I can.
Okay.
Now, 8-bit Nintendo, man. I'm talking about old school.
Like a Maniac Mansion kind of style game here you're talking? Okay, yeah. I can see that happening now.
You know, like the running away from the train on the on the bridge. You know what I mean? Like, like tap the buttons. Like
maybe like Pez could be like your life. Yeah,
your life meter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
I don't know.
Goonies is there. Goonies and Goonies 2. You can just go and play that. I mean, you don't get to be Corey Feldman, but that's probably the closest. No, it's just... Yeah.
Missed opportunity.
Sean, what's his name? Sean
Astin?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, okay. Anything else, Matt, in regards to the marketing? Or that's
No, I mean, obviously there'll be films that we touch on along the way which will be a lot more interesting. Like, not just movie posters, but like even like the VHS release and things like that. Yeah. This was a pretty... like the film, pretty subtle, especially here in Australia, which is cool.
Another new section I'm just going to trial here as well is a movie's legacy that it leaves behind as well. So in regards to events and tourism, I know we made mention of it at the start about the Stand By Me Day. It sort of attracts international participants, and the city has embedded a penny in the street at Maynan Park, where Vern found one, and an advertising mural painted for the movie production has survived as well. So these things draw a lot of interest.
Yeah. It's clever, isn't it, for tourism? Yeah. It's if you have something coming in your town, like you milk that shit.
And that penny moment, just quickly as well, that penny moment is a great moment at the end of the film as well. Like when he goes, "Hey, a penny," for his character, it's great. It sums him up perfectly. Yeah,
I guess it also speaks to what else this town has going for it as well, though.
Yeah, it does.
Not much.
Production company as well. In 1987, following the success of Stand By Me, Reiner co-founded a film and television production company and named it Castle Rock after the fictional setting in the story. I'm sure you guys have all heard of Castle Rock. In regards to movies as well, the movie Mud, 2012. Matt, what is this? Have you heard of this film?
Mud? Matthew McConaughey.
Oh, yeah? Have you seen this film?
Yeah, it's a two-parter. I've seen somewhere, maybe on American Netflix.
The movie Mud has a character, Neckbone, who has been called a perfect fusion of River Phoenix and Jerry O'Connell in Stand By Me. The writer and director, Jeff Nichols, said of the film, I basically remade Stand By Me. While defending the work in progress to studio executives. So
Mud is good. I remember it being good, but I don't remember it being a remake of Stand By Me.
In music, Dan Mangan's song Rows of Houses from 2011 is based on this movie and takes the perspective of Gordy LaChance, apparently. So, and in TV, most of you guys will know this reference. Seinfeld, the first television show produced by Reiner's Castle Rock production company, featured banter between Jerry Seinfeld and George Costanza that was reminiscent of the dialogue between the protagonists of Stand By Me. Obvious reference, that one.
Yeah.
The plot line of The Blunder Years, a 2001 episode from the 13th season of The Simpsons, revolves around a repressed childhood trauma in which Homer Simpson, along with his friends Lenny and Carl, discover a body blocking an inlet for the Springfield Quarry. But what hasn't The Simpsons made reference of? 20 8 seasons of the show or something like that. They've practically referenced everything.
But just to touch on that, also the Wonder Years, I think, is there's a very close connection between Stand By Me and that, the same kind of nostalgic vibe and use of voiceover. That must have been like almost a year or two after Stand By Me. But it just seemed to be like this film was like the seed for a big wave of nostalgia in the 50s and 60s.
Definitely. And actors auditioning for the roles on the Netflix show Stranger Things were asked to read lines from Stand By Me, and one episode was named The Body, apparently, in homage to the source novella. Yeah, so nice touch there from Stranger Things. All right, one more news segment, and then we'll finish it up, guys. So I call this sequel, prequel, remake, reboot, or leave it alone. What do they do with Stand By Me?
Leave it alone.
Leave it alone.
Yep.
I think it's pretty straightforward. I mean, the fact that Hollywood have left it alone is definitely a good thing. For now. I mean, yeah, you can never ever write it off, can you?
No. You know, you could remake RoboCop, which they've done. I mean, it's just like, why would you do it? But yes, it's possible.
Stand closer.
Yeah. Oh,
to me.
Now you're intriguing me.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Is that just a direction for Andrew, or what you're actually talking about with the film?
Yeah. The film. Yeah. Sequel.
In regards to the awards for this film, guys, I suppose the main one is its main nomination at the Academy Awards in 1987. It was nominated Best Writing Screenplay based on material from another medium to Reynold Gideon and Bruce A. Evans, Penny. So, very much a worthy nomination there, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that it's in that segment of adaptation versus best original screenplay, because the adaptation, I think, adaptations are super interesting anyway, and I think they've done an amazing job with it.
And at the Golden Globes in 1987 as well, it was nominated for Best Motion Picture Drama and Best Director to Rob Reiner as well. The Rotten Tomatoes website certifies Stand By Me fresh with a score of 91%, 48 positive and only 5 negative, and it has an incredibly high IMDb score of 8.1 out of 10 as well. Stephen King, whose novella this film was adapted from, was very impressed with the finished result and indicated on the special features on the Blu-ray set that he considered the film to be the first successful translation to film of any of his works. According to a later interview with Gene Siskel, Reiner recalls that after a private early screening of the film, King excused himself for 15 minutes to compose himself, returning to remark, "That's the best film ever made out of anything I've ever written," which isn't saying much. But you've really captured my story. It's very autobiographical.
Well, he's been pretty vocal about not liking a lot of the films made about his books, so that's a pretty good tick of approval from him.
It is, definitely. So, in regards to our podcast series here, guys, the top 100, do you guys have anything to say in regards to whether Stand By Me deserves to be there? And is number 100, lucky number 100, a fitting position for it?
I mean, it's strange to sort of start this quest with like such an amazing film, and I haven't seen it for such a long time for me. So it was like, it's really great to see this as there's the top 100. It just snuck in there, but for me, I don't know if it's not a kids film, and I don't know if adults are, if we're I don't know, getting my parents to sit down and watch it, they probably wouldn't enjoy it. So it's sort of a weird place where it sits, and it's very much, for me, draws on my nostalgic view of the film and a nostalgic view of that time in the 50s and 60s. So it's a bit of an anomaly, I think, but it's really nice to see it again.
Matt? Yeah, I think Penny hit the nail on the head. I think it's definitely one of those things where it would be in my top 100. But as we go along, I'm sure there'll be films that come up and you think to yourself, well, Stand By Me is better than this film. I'd have it higher than that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that film we're talking about would also be in the top 100. So, yeah, the top 100 films are all going to be good, really, aren't they? There's not really going to be an absolute stinker. It's not going to be Catwoman with Halle Berry. If we did that today, I guess you could say, it deserves to be 100, but then... yeah, it depends what's after it. So I guess we'll see. Stay tuned.
There
you go.
Yeah, maybe Catwoman was 101. Maybe just missed out.
Maybe. Yeah.
Andrew, number 100, thoughts?
Yeah, I think it sits around the right place because, there's a lot of films in 100 and a lot of great films that we're going to see and speak about. Stand By Me is one of those solid films that you always enjoy and always look upon fondly, but it's not really an immediate one you go to as one of your all-time greats. So I guess when you, no offense to the film, but when you're kind of struggling to find ones to fill in the 100, that would probably be where I would think that would sit for me as well.
Okay. It would actually be really interesting to find out what 101 was, wouldn't it? Yeah, the unlucky film. You just missed out. Yeah. So let's wrap this up with our traditional 5-star review system per guest. And so traditionally, I'm going to start with Andrew over here on my right. So yeah, final words on Stand By Me and your rating, Andrew.
Yeah, I think it was great to revisit it, and I thoroughly enjoyed it again. It's a brilliantly done film. One of the great films about growing up and friendship, and I grew up with that film, so it's always very fun for me to go back and see it, and it nails good friendships I've had and that sense of camaraderie you have when you're a kid and the simplicity of life. So yeah, it always taps into those things for me. So I really enjoyed it. By no means a masterpiece though. For me, as we just said, it'd be kind of lower in the list of the 100s. So yeah, I'll give it a solid 4 stars because I just think it's an exceptional achievement.
Yep, good stuff. Matt?
Yeah, it's just a real nice film, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's I'm gonna go 4 stars as well. I was thinking 3.5, but it's probably deserving a bit more than that.
Yep.
It doesn't really put a foot long, not a foot long. That's a different film. Footloose. I'm looking. Sorry. No black people in this film. That was
no.
Anyway.
Or a lot of women.
No. Yeah, actually, 1 star. It's racist, misogynistic. I'm looking forward to showing this to my kids.
Good one.
I think it'll be a nice. And it's
How long are you going to wait?
I'll probably wait till I could probably show my daughter now. It's because my son's a little bit younger. I don't think he's ready for it. So probably like a couple of more years, I think we'll pop it on.
Yep.
But it's aged so well, I think. It still stands the test of time, this film. And I guess because of its 50s setting, it pulls it off so well. But yeah, it really holds up well.
Good one. Thanks, Matt. Penny?
For all very similar reasons, I'm also going to give it 4 out of 5. The songs haven't left my head since I've watched it. And those scenes that sort of keep coming up, and you keep referencing back to it. It's a really lovely film. It's a really nice adaptation as well, based on the original work. And it's really good just to sit down and watch it again. It's definitely a 4 out of 5 for me.
Good one. Thanks, Penny. Final word, just quickly. Stand By Me is deservedly recognised as an all-time classic film. It's a story about self-discovery and the effort to better understand life through the prism of death. Stand By Me is built around exceptionally well-written characters, wonderfully brought to life through performances that might not be technically flawless, but that certainly benefit from an honesty and a sense of camaraderie that makes the story work. The film's real strength lies in the right balance it finds in each of its filmmaking aspects and the manner in which it captures the moments that memories are made of. Rob Reiner's direction is admirable for the film, and it's beautifully structured from start to finish. And it's also got a very serene atmosphere that adds an incredible amount of warmth to the whole story. The screenplay keeps the innocence of its characters alive while managing to subtly deal with its underlying themes. On an overall scale, Stand By Me is an ingenious example of a coming-of-age story that hasn't aged a day, despite being over 30 years old, and its themes remain as relevant today as they were during its years of release. A celebration of childhood, friendship, young passion, and the time when we were always curious to discover new things. This is an ode to those years in everyone's life when friendships are at its most pure, innocent and selfless. A delightful film, and I definitely recommend it. And it's going to be 4 stars around the board from the 4 of us. So just quickly, guys, before we wrap up, this is where you can find us. You can find us at realchat.com.au. You can email us at feedback@realchat.com.au, Facebook at realchat podcast, Twitter at realchat podcast, Instagram real_chat_podcast, and also Google Plus and Tumblr at realchat podcast. Now, we did mention it a couple of weeks ago as well, but we have a new service for Patreon subscribers here at Real Chat. Financial security from our listeners would go a huge way to helping us to produce more content, as little as $1 a month, or more if you feel that way inclined, of course. We can finally expand our operation and improve the quality of the product. And rest assured as well that the show will always remain free, but if we receive enough financial support per month, we'll have the means to create more merch, produce extra episodes, and give you other bonus content that casual listeners won't otherwise have access to. So lastly as well, iTunes reviews, guys. If you can give us a 5-star review, you can review us what you like, but 5-star reviews are obviously the most desirable. Once a month, I'm going to give a free Real Chat t-shirt to our best 5-star review that we get. So get on there, guys, if you haven't given us a review, and get on there and let's see what we can do. So, Andrew, thanks very much for returning, mate. It's really good to have you back.
Pleasure to be back.
Matt, thanks again, mate.
Until next time.
And Penny, thank you very much.
You found a penny.